Hello and welcome to the BloodStream podcast, a show serving the greater bleeding disorders community, brought to you by Believe Limited and BloodStream Media, and made possible thanks to our presenting sponsor, Takeda. I am your patient advocate and host, Patrick James Lynch.
And I am your healthcare advocate, nonprofit nerd, and your other host, Amy Board, reminding you to please speak with a healthcare professional before making any treatment decisions.
Please do. On today's show, we've got the top stories of 2025, a segment highlighting the top, well, 6. I tried to get it to 5.
6! He tried to get it to 5.
We got it to 6.
It's great. I mean,
close.
He could have gone to 8.
Insert 6, 7 joke. Both of those, both stories we covered and some that we didn't. We also have the latest installment of I'm Fine, where Makenna Dietrich discusses how saying I'm fine often masks deeper struggles. We've got all of that and more on today's episode. Welcome back to BloodStream.
Listeners, as always, thank you for joining us today. And if you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on all the social media. We're on all the things. It's a new year. Follow us.
Follow us. We're in the same new year, same following places. And I want to remind you, dear listeners, that the BloodStream podcast is indeed made possible by our presenting sponsor, Takeda.
Takeda.
Yes, that's right. Takeda. Takeda's got this website, bleedingdisorders.com, where you can learn all about Takeda's resources for and commitment to the bleeding disorders community. Takeda believes in a world free of bleeds, Amy. Can you believe it?
Unreal.
And they are dedicated more than ever in their efforts to offer a wide range of programs and support to help patients throughout their treatment journey, wherever on that journey they may be. And you can learn more by simply visiting bleedingdisorders.com. One more time, because it's fun to say, bleedingdisorders.com. And for their founding and ongoing support of the BloodStream podcast, I would just like to say thanks, Takeda.
Thanks, Takeda. I'm always amazed that they're the ones that got bleedingdisorders.com. Like, they got the domain.
They did.
It was a while ago.
It had to have been.
Like, a while ago.
And I'll tell you something. There was a moment a while ago where Believe Limited co-founder Ryan Gielen and I were all about hunting for domains that might be of interest. I'll share this little quick story. Ryan had gotten one domain that he was able to sell to someone who was interested in for a nice return.
Are you serious?
So that got the two of us on like, oh, we've figured it out. Squat on domain names people may one day want, and that is how you make your millions.
Oh my.
It hasn't worked,
Okay.
but my point is, if bleedingdisorders.com was available at the time, we would have snapped it up, and it wasn't. So they've had this for a hot minute.
They've had this for a while.
Yeah, so you should probably check out that website.
That's amazing.
Hey, January 16th, 2026. We're already halfway through the first month of the year.
Which
How about that?
Insane.
We just got here.
That's insane.
And we're already halfway through the first month.
Already halfway through the first. That's insane.
But I'll tell you something. I feel it.
Do you feel it?
Yeah, a lot's happened already.
Do you feel like a new leaf has turned and then like it's already halfway through the first month of the year?
The last number of years, and I don't know if it's aging, I don't know what it is, but the last number of years, I feel like I meet New Year's and the New Year's energy with like, you know what? I'm ready. Let's step into the discomfort. Let's try new things. Let's better. And then every year by January 3rd, it's just like, pow, spin kick. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
Maybe next year.
I know. I know. It's like setting yourself up for fall. Like I try to just like, I guess my thing is to like listen to like what it is rather than like making definitive like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat this way, or I'm going to, make sure that I blah, 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 but just kind of a feel it out of like, I think this is, last year was this, and I think this year is like kind of a step towards this, so it's a little lighter.
Yeah.
But
I like that approach. It seems gentler.
It's gentle.
Maybe I am putting too much on the new year. Maybe I'm projecting onto New Year's and setting myself up for disappointment.
Maybe. You know what? I don't know. I don't know.
How do we get to the bottom of this?
I don't know.
Who do we talk to?
Who do we talk to?
Will it be answered in the I'm Fine segment?
Yes.
Oh, great. All right. Well, in that case, let's jump into that. Because in this episode of I'm Fine, Makenna Dietrich discusses how saying I'm fine often masks deeper struggles. She shares her personal story about the anxiety and delays caused by waiting instead of acting, especially concerning her family's health issues. Makenna emphasizes that waiting can turn anxiety into a debilitating burden, proving it's crucial to seek help promptly. Her journey from passivity to advocacy shows that acting brings relief, support, and clarity. Waiting, she learns, is not neutral. It has a cost.
We're so excited for you to hear this segment. with Makenna Dietrich, who is married to Tyler Dietrich, who was one of my Colorado hemophilia camp kids
It all
forever
comes
ago.
back.
And they live in Nebraska. And now Makenna is working at the chapter. It's going to be fantastic. And to remind y'all, I'm Fine aims to challenge entrenched ideas around chronic resiliency and satisfaction with suboptimal outcomes by inspiring people with hemophilia to seek education and truly consider the possibilities. Sanofi seeks to expand the idea of what's possible for the hemophilia community, take a deeper look at the science behind hemophilia, and an important connection between factor activity levels and potential activities at levelsmatter.com. Now, on to I'm Fine.
Welcome back to another installment of I'm Fine. When we say I'm fine, it can be a mask for millions of things. For when we're waiting, for when we're hurting, for when we're anxious, waiting for things to get better, waiting for clarity, waiting because we don't want to overreact, bother anyone, or admit how overwhelmed we really are. But waiting isn't always calm. Sometimes waiting is where anxiety lives. Makenna Dietrich knows this intimately. As a wife, a mother, and an advocate, she's lived through what happens when waiting feels easier than acting, and what it costs when you wait for too long. For Makenna, one of the clearest lessons about waiting came through her family's health.
If I look at from like my husband's standpoint, he was having GI bleeding that was happening both in the upper GI and lower GI that we waited a long time. Months probably, actually, I think it was close to 6 months before I finally pushed him that we needed to do something. Doing that, we found out that he actually had grown a sort of inhibitor to the med he was currently on, and we never saw it until it was a long hospital stay. Like, I think we were there over 3 or 4 days in the hospital trying to figure out what was going on with his GI bleeding. Looking back now, I wish that I would have been more of an advocate for him, even though, let's be honest, he probably wouldn't have listened to me. I wish I would have pushed it a little bit harder and been like, okay, we need to actually go and get this looked at because this is not normal.
Waiting didn't just delay answers, it delayed understanding and added weight Makenna didn't even know she was carrying yet.
At that point, I was not as educated as I should have been when it came to bleeding. I did not understand how serious a GI bleed was. And also, I will say that my husband did not educate me on how serious a GI bleed was either, because he's very much somebody of, oh, it's fine, I'm going to push it behind. Like, it's not that big of a deal until it's becoming totally debilitating and he can't work and he can't function with his kids and all of these different things. I wasn't seeing all of the side effects that he was having and how it was affecting his job at work. And I wasn't seeing all of the 24/7 stuff of it. I was just seeing the stuff maybe when we were at home and he was just laying on the couch and unable to move. So I think that I was hoping, because I wasn't being told stuff, I didn't think that it was as serious as it actually was, until we were in the hospital and they were like, you should have came in a long time ago. He does not like asking for help at all. It's so hard.
Waiting can feel passive. For Makenna, waiting quickly became overwhelming, especially when it came to her children.
2024 was a really, really rough year for our family. Between my husband he was hospitalized 2 or 3 times. He was hospitalized a lot. And then our daughter was going to the ER for 2 or 3 times a month, every single month for about 8 months. So that was a hard time on us. I think that I realized that, like, waiting and asking for help, waiting was not always going to be the answer for us. The end of the year was a year that I could feel the anxiety in like every wall that she hit. And because like she would just look at a wall and get like a goose egg on her. And so it was like every single thing that she hit, I had so much anxiety. Within the end of the year 2024 is when I realized that I needed to find some way to like get an outlet for that. I was not being an effective parent and coworker, and I was not serving myself either mentally, because that was my brain all the time. Like, I could not talk about anything else other than this and hemophilia, because I was constantly worried about it for both my husband and my daughter all the time.
This is where I'm fine starts to crack, because waiting wasn't making things better. It was making everything heavier.
So much. Like, the person I am today is not who I was in 2024 because I was just a bundle of anxiety and everything. I learned a lot about myself of if I can have another medical professional tell me that she's okay, because I'm not a medical professional at all, nor do I ever want to be one. But knowing that the faster I get her to go see a medical professional and getting her evaluated, I realized so much mentally, like, that entire burden was just taken off of me because they said that she was okay. So once that they said she was okay, I finally felt like I was able to breathe. But I also have that internal monologue of like, I'm bothering everybody. I don't want to bother everybody. I'm going to deal with it by myself. And those days were so much more anxiety and like just bundled up like stress and everything all day long compared to the days that I was just like, I'm just going to send a simple message through our HTC and they'll tell me if we're good, and if we're not great, we'll move on. Being the annoying parent, not that big of a deal. We'll move on. I'll get over it at some point. But I mean, my kids' health and safety is more important than annoying other people.
Acting didn't mean panic. It meant relief. It meant support. And it meant rewriting the story she was telling herself.
The story I tell myself about waiting versus doing is it's always better to just do, because you'll get your answers so much quicker. I realized that waiting had a cost when I was anxious every time that my daughter looked at a wall and got a bleed, and I was waiting for a medical professional to get back to me. My instinct for timing has changed a lot by not sitting there and just overthinking every single thing. Now I just ask. I'm okay with hearing a different answer than what I want sometimes, and I wasn't that way before. I know that it's time to move forward when I can see that my family members are being physically altered by what is happening with their bleeding disorder. I'm Makenna. I am an advocate for my husband with severe hemophilia A, my 3 children, 2 of those that have hemophilia A, and those in my community in the state of Nebraska, who I serve as the community outreach coordinator.
For Makenna, doing didn't mean having all the answers. It meant trusting herself enough to ask.
Just do it. Like, it's not going to get any easier by waiting. It's actually going to probably cause more problems. So just do it.
I'm fine can sound like strength, but sometimes it's just fear dressed up as patience. Makenna's story reminds us that waiting isn't neutral. It has a cost, emotionally, mentally, physically, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop waiting, send the message, ask the question, and let yourself breathe again. Thanks for listening to I'm Fine.
Thank you, Patrick, for taking us through I'm Fine, and also to Makenna Dietrich. We're so happy you are in the community and here to stay.
Here
if
to
I
stay.
do have to say so myself. Sanofi aims to raise the bar for the patients living with hemophilia. Reimagine what's possible by visiting rareblood.disorders.com to hear more about Sanofi's dedication to the bleeding disorder community. All right, Patrick, here we go.
So, 365 days in a year.
Yes.
Stories all the time.
Stories all the time, but also some big breaking news stories, and also just some themes.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been trying to kind of wrap my arms around what were the top stories in 2025?
Yes.
What kind of defined bleeding disorders in 2025 thematically?
Yes.
And I was really trying for a top 5 list. It became a top 6 list, and I said that's where it lives. So I've got a top 6 list, no particular order.
No particular order.
The stories that I believe, these are just my little beliefs. This is not some official list out in the world. This doesn't belong to the World
This
Federation.
literally has not been blogged.
No, I haven't even run it by Amy. So
Haven't run it by me.
this is just my list. All right, number 1. The treatment landscape fundamentally shifted and choice finally expanded in hemophilia.
We've talked about it a lot, and it's legitimately legit here.
It's happened. So if there's one word that defines hemophilia care in 2025, I would say it's choice. This was the year that the treatment landscape finally stopped being something we were looking ahead to and thinking about in the future, and then realized it in real time, which is both exciting and complicated. We saw the real-world arrival of rebalancing agents like fitusiran, also known as Qfitlia, continued momentum around non-factor approaches like with marstacimab, also known as Hympavzi, and the ever-evolving role of emicizumab, also known as Hemlibra, which for years had been the non-factor option. All of a sudden, patients and providers weren't just asking, does this prevent bleeds? They were asking, what does this mean for my daily life, for my risk tolerance, my mental load? And at the same time, 2025 reminded us that innovation isn't just about what comes in, it's also about what leaves. Legacy therapies, specifically Hemophilia M and Recombinate, were discontinued, forcing real conversations about transitions, trust, and continuity of care. So progress in 2025, as I see it, Amy Board, wasn't just scientific, it was emotional, it was practical, and it required a level of shared decision-making that we, again, have been talking about for a while, but haven't actually needed until 2025.
100%. And a shift in all of us to be like, oh, what do I actually want my lifestyle to be? And I think a lot of times we think lifestyle in hemophilia is like, oh, I have to play soccer now. Oh, I have to be a runner. Oh, I have to climb mountains, a la Chris Bombardier. Oh, I have to like do these things. And it's actually shifting even deeper than that, no, you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be physical. It's not even about that. It's about lifestyle changes. Oh, I don't want to, I don't know, have this chronic knee pain.
Yeah.
And you know, that is a new thought of like, oh, I could not have this pain by doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, I could play with my kids after 5 p.m. when typically I'd be like worn out and I'm tired. Oh, I can actually get down on my knees and play with my nieces and my nephews. When I've never been able to do that, I've always just like sat on the couch and watched them. You know, like that's a lifestyle change that I don't think we think from, again, I'm speaking for y'all, our beloved bleeders, so you guys can, sound off in the comments. But like that is a shift. Like you,
It is.
Oh, maybe there's something else.
Maybe there's something else
that could allow you those things that maybe you would like to do.
Yes.
That is a radical shift.
Yeah, thinking about what I'd like to do and how treatment and care fits into that, as opposed to
Yes.
thinking about treatment and care and what I'd like to do fitting into my treatment and care model. So big paradigm shift. Again, we've been talking about it for years, but 2025 really became the year of the treatment landscape.
100%.
The treatment landscape revolution, so
Yeah.
to speak. All right, story number 2. This is one of the harder stories and one that happened just at the end of the year, so we didn't have a chance to talk about it in 2025. But we had a patient death that took place just at the end of 2025 in a patient who was enrolled in a long-term extension study of marstacimab, which again is Hympavzi. The patient suffered a stroke followed by a fatal brain hemorrhage. Now, it should be mentioned that there's an investigation that's going on. We don't know all the details quite yet, so it's premature to rush to conclusions. But anytime we hear about a study that has a patient death, it's reason to pause. One of the big concerns with rebalancing agents is the potential for a thrombotic event or a blood clot. And in this case, this person suffered a stroke, which is a very prominent blood clot, followed by a fatal brain hemorrhage. So again, more to be seen, but as we are excited about the expanded treatment landscape, and there's reasons to be excited about it, there's also reasons to slow down, read, learn, talk to your doctor, think through the options to make sure you're making a fully informed decision about the best treatment option for you. So a little bit of a somber one, but an important one, because at the end of the day, patient health is kind of priority number one.
I think, yes, from the little information that we have received publicly from the press release and then NBDF and WFH and HFA made a statement. It seems like this did happen after minor surgery. And with these new rebalancing agents, that cocktail dose, man, is really important. And they're really trying to key in on that. And so more listening, I think, is great. More understanding what happened. And it's always a somber thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would just like to say, I told you this at the end of last year, but as we're looking into 2026, I would love to have folks here on BloodStream to talk about rebalancing agents. I think it's fascinating science. I think it's still curious science. It's like not really, again, locked in. It's changes the way we think about how we're treated with hemophilia, for sure. I mean, it's not just like replacing a little guy. It's very different. And so anyway, interested to keep pushing into that education and awareness of those particular drugs.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. We'll have more education and experts come through BloodStream on 2026 to help get that information out. And as we learn more about this particular event, we'll make sure to bring that forward as well. So story number 3, look at that. We're almost halfway through already on story number 3 of 6. Story number 3, gene therapy reached its reality check phase.
Hey-o!
How about that? So for years, we put gene therapy, many of us anyway, on a pedestal, right? It was sort of this big white whale that we were all looking toward.
The C word.
Right, exactly. The functional C word. It almost seemed like an inevitable future for the entire community at some point. And in 2025, I think it's fair to say that narrative finally matured. Like a fine wine, it met its day. We continue to see durable outcomes from hemogenics and hemophilia B, reinforcing that gene therapy can be transformative for some people.
Yes.
At the same time, ongoing scrutiny of Roctavian highlighted variability in response, and Pfizer made the decision to discontinue Becvez despite regulatory approval, citing limited uptake. So if you take these different inputs together, the story they start to tell is that gene therapy works, but not universally.
Right.
It's powerful, but selective. It doesn't fit neatly into every life, into every healthcare system or risk profile.
Right.
So 2025 was the year the conversation shifted from when will everyone get gene therapy to who is it actually right for and under what conditions. And that is a pretty significant shift.
I 100% agree. I also think at the end of last year, again, we didn't get to talk about it very much. We did a little bit on our gene therapy segment. We'll hear a little bit more next episode of BloodStream on our gene therapy segment. But the 5-year data from the HOPE-B study, that analysis for hemogenics, gene therapy for hemophilia B, did release, and the results were very impressive. So I will say that it's like there is. We have a viable gene therapy product. And
we do.
And I loved what you said there. It's powerful science. And it's just kind of like depending on I guess patient to patient of what's right for you. Choice, baby, choice.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
I'll say if I was a hemophilia B patient, I think I'd be on hemogenics. I think I would. I think the data's there.
Yeah.
Frankly. I mean, it's, I have Hem A, so it's speculative for me. But if Roctavian had the kind of data that hemogenics had, I'd be on it.
I also will say, I'm just gonna say, it seems like I don't know. Again, Jack for squat. I don't know anything, but there's some percolating things about like new gene therapy science, different mechanisms, different, ways of all of the different things. I'm so excited to learn more about that. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because you and I, the colloquial, all of us can lump a lot of different scientific approaches to manipulating the genes into this category of gene editing, but it's quite a broad category. And there's a lot of different approaches being investigated. We've been kind of fixated, or in the front anyway, of the pipeline has been these AAV, adeno-associated viruses, and utilizing those as the vector to then transport the needed strands into the liver directly. Again, with hemogenics, we're seeing data that suggests that approach is working well. In Hem A, we're seeing differently, and we're seeing a lot of other explorations. So the story on gene therapy is far from written, but it is not the one-size-fits-all, C word that for a long time it was framed as. That much is clear. Story number 4. Global success redefined what progress looks like. So I think this is one of the most important stories of 2025.
100%.
But it's kind of quiet. There wasn't a press conference. There wasn't a big to-do about it when it happened. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it may end up affecting more lives globally than almost anything else we talk about today.
100%.
And that is that the World Federation of Hemophilia was able to achieve, with the World Health Organization, an update to their essential medicines list. For context, for years, the WHO list did not reflect the modern standard of care in bleeding disorders. Prophylaxis wasn't fully supported, safer recombinant therapies weren't clearly prioritized, and that had real downstream consequences, in particular for the access in low and middle income countries. Well, in 2025, the WFH mobilized the global community, clinicians, advocates, national organizations, and pushed for alignment. And it worked. Modern clotting factor concentrates, recombinant therapies, and emicizumab are now recognized as core essential medicines. Older, less safe options such as cryoprecipitate were removed. And this matters because the WHO list is a blueprint.
100%.
When something is on it, it becomes much harder for governments to say no.
Right.
This was a reminder that progress doesn't only happen at the cutting edge of science and innovation.
Right.
Sometimes it happens by fixing the very foundation.
Right.
So a huge win and something that kind of happened quickly, but Amy arguably has more of an impact on our global community than anything else we're talking about.
100%. And the strength and the organization of our advocacy arms, like it was swift, the awareness of what had happened, kind of a rallying of the troops, if you will. Of course, this was, led by some of our most luminaries in our community, and so obviously they were right on it. But it was swift to just go in there and say absolutely not, and it was a little frightening because it was so archaic. I mean, the recommendations prior to, advocating for having, for heaven's sakes, prophylaxis on, it was archaic.
Yeah.
And anyway, hats off to everyone who was involved. It was not an easy thing. There was a lot of lost sleep. I think there was a lot of panic, and hats off to every organization nationally and globally for really banding together and, going after this one.
Hear, hear. All right, story number 5, 2025 was the year of women and girls with bleeding disorders.
Woo-hoo!
Another defining story of the year, one that frankly should have happened decades ago. Women and girls with bleeding disorders are no longer treated as a side conversation.
You betcha.
World Hemophilia Day in particular signaled that women and girls with bleeding disorders, hemophilia, von Willebrand disease, and otherwise are being prioritized in a way unlike ever before. Advocacy organizations highlighted persistent diagnostic delays, misdiagnosis, and under-recognition. And across the community, there was a growing willingness to say out loud what women have known for years, that bleeding disorders don't present the same way in female bodies, and our systems haven't been built with that reality in mind. This shift wasn't just clinical, it was also cultural, and we had a hand to play in this with a project like Dismissed, helping to bring lived experience into the open, into the forefront, and to challenge some long-standing assumptions about who hemophilia is quote-unquote for. So this was a year that wasn't just about raising awareness, but about course correcting. 2025 marked a real turning point in whose experiences are finally shaping the future of care. It was indeed, Amy Board, the year of women and girls.
You got it. And it's just the beginning. There's a lot of work left to do. Women still aren't included in clinical trials. They don't have clinical trials of their own. We still don't know what, products and treatment for hemophilia that have been known to work, quote unquote, for years and years and years. We still have no idea how they respond to the human body, to the female human body, I should say, with our menstrual system, with our hormones. It's still, physicians are still hesitant to prescribe certain medications and treatments for women because the data isn't there. And so we have a lot of work to do, and it did feel like the bubble burst a little bit, though, and people are talking about it at a level that they need to be talking about it. More and more women in communities on the ground are starting to, it's makes me choke up a little bit. They're starting to speak up for themselves a little bit, It's great. It's really great. And it's just the beginning. Hear, hear. Let's keep going.
Let's keep it going. And story number 6 of our top stories from 2025.
Not 5, top 6.
Top 6.
I think when you first sent me this doc, it was top 5, and then it was top 6.
Yeah, that was like a couple hours ago. I had a last minute, we got to revise this. And I'm sure there's plenty of things. I should give some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions. God, no! There was a 25-year honoring of Asad Hafar from the WFH.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Honorable
That was
mention.
great. That honorable mention.
Honorable mention. We lost a legend in Carol Casper. She was a legend in hemophilia.
Yes,
R.I.P. to
yes.
Carol Casper. And thank you for all you've done. We hadn't recognized that on the podcast, so I wanted to do that. Honorable mentions. Who else is not? Our producer Keith's done great. He's a top story of 2025.
Keith
honorable
is a top
mention.
Story for sure.
A lot of honorable mentions out there, but the story number 6, rare bleeding disorders, finally began moving from the margins toward meaningful progress.
Yes.
So in 2025, people living with von Willebrand disease, Glanzmann's thrombosemia, factor VII deficiency, other rare factor deficiencies and bleeding disorders finally saw some signs of real forward motion. For von Willebrand disease, 2025 brought renewed regulatory and scientific momentum, including a late-stage development investigational product and fast-track designations for investigational therapies that go beyond episodic management. For Glanzmann's thrombosemia, 2025 marked one of the first moments where targeted therapeutic approaches showed credible clinical promise, a shift away from purely supportive care toward disease-specific intervention. And across ultra-rare factor deficiencies and platelet disorders, we saw more intentional trial design, better diagnostic clarity, and a willingness to invest in very small populations. So story 6 isn't one that's about a blockbuster drug, but rather it's about visibility for populations that have long suffered from a lack thereof. It's about being taken seriously. And for those people who have lived on the margins of the bleeding disorders landscape, 2025 signaled that progress is no longer reserved for the biggest diagnoses. We're talking to you, hemophilia.
Brutal.
I'm talking to myself. So story number 6, rare bleeding disorders, Amy Board, take a nice step forward.
You betcha. And there are some, when we're talking about rebalancing agents, the most exciting thing for me is the potential of being a treatment, an adequate treatment for some of these rare bleeding disorders.
Yeah.
That is a huge possibility. And what do we need to do to get there? What are the boots on the ground that we need to get there? But there's stuff percolating that could make a change in someone's life. It's really exciting. And yeah, you're here.
And we had some of those folks, some of those scientists, some of the executives at the companies that are investigating these drugs. I'm thinking about Star Therapeutics.
Yes.
I'm thinking about Hemab.
Yes.
Come through BloodStream to talk to you about their progress. We'll continue to have those voices come through in 2026 so that whether you're someone affected by hemophilia, von Willebrand disease, factor VII deficiency, Glanzmann's thrombosemia, this BloodStream podcast is your podcast, and we want to make sure that we're bringing the most relevant updates to you as soon as we can. So there we go. There's our top 6 list, top 6 stories of 2025.
Woohoo!
All right, and we're already halfway through 2026, so the next list has already begun.
There was a confetti cannon that happened there. Yeah.
That's on you, post-production.
I was about to say post-production. Let's see. Let's see if that's a thing.
All right. Well, with that, thank you to Makenna for joining us for today's I'm Fine segment. Thanks, as always, to our presenting sponsor, Takeda. Remember, bleedingdisorders.com for more. And thank you to Sanofi for supporting I'm Fine. We could not produce this show without your support, and we are grateful for it. All right, Amy Board, next episode comes out Jan 26th. What can the listeners expect to hear?
Well, we talked about it a little bit today. In our episode, you'll hear the last gene therapy segment. Actually, this segment is wrapping up. So we're doing a fantastic, if you will, a year in review, a segment, an education, session in review. And we'll really lean into some of those results from the Hope B study. And you can hear from all of the wonderful guests that have been on our gene therapy segment. So we're excited about that.
Wow, that's a great segment.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Looking forward to that one. And with that, that is all for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the BloodStream podcast wherever you listen to have the next episode delivered to you the moment it goes live.
And as always, y'all, email us at
Please.
mailbag@bloodstreammedia.com. That is where you can inquire about our casting opportunities. You can tell us your story if you would like to be featured on the show. We're casting all the time now, so we would
Yes.
love to hear from you. And you can find me and PGL on social media. You can reach out to us too.
You can. Yeah, we're available.
We're friendly.
I'm your host, Patrick James Lynch.
And I'm your other host, Amy Board.
And until next time, take self-care of yourself. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.